Hey, good afternoon again. It's Pastor Rick here with River of Life, and we're just going to talk about soil prep for our series that we're doing on making your life count. We're going to be using the sower and the parable of the sower from the book of Mark chapter 4 or Luke chapter 8. Both of those locations are very good, but I want to talk to you about how important, because the Bible talks about the sower sowed the seed, and some landed on rocky soil, some landed on thorny soil, and some on a hard beaten path, and then others landed on good soil. What is it about soil prep, Brian, that you would say is very important to the process of farming?
Soil prep is very important. It actually starts immediately after harvest. When we get done harvesting, we go out and start doing deep tillage to break up compaction and to loosen up the soil so it can take in any moisture we get throughout the winter. And then we also put down some nutrients at that time so it's available for next year's crop. And once we're done with that, the winter freezing and thawing actually does a lot of the mellowing of the soil. So we do what we can mechanically, but the weather still helps us out. And then in the spring, we've got a loose, moist soil that we can finish prepping for our seed bed.
Good. So seed selection is important. You talked about that seed bed. That seed bed being ready for the seed is important.
Yes, absolutely, because every seed matters. You want perfect placement of that seed as far as population and spacing as well as depth. You don't want it too deep or too shallow, and you want it spaced properly so that you can maximize yield.
So what happens if we place the seed too close to each other in that row that we're planting corn in? What happens if it's too close?
If it's too close, they will sense each other as a weed, and one of them will dominate, the other one will just be kind of a runt crop, so it won't mature.
Okay. And if they're too far apart, what happens then, Brian?
Then it allows room for weeds to come in.
Okay. So there is that spacing that's necessary. Isn't that applicable in our lives? How sometimes we just need space to grow, and yet sometimes we need somebody to help us along a little bit. So we need the body of Christ, but we also need that individual time with God. And so the last thing we were going to talk about, Brian, is planting techniques. And this is a 12-row planter. It's a row planter. Talk to me a little bit about how the technology has changed over the last 30 years.
Well, back when I was a kid growing up, everything was mechanical. They had mechanical fingers that would actually pick up the seed individually and place them. Modern technology has brought about the use of vacuum, and the vacuum draws the seeds to specific plates and places them. They can be placed within a 1/16 of an inch of accuracy. So everything is precision driven in today's planters.
That's just amazing to me, coming from, back in the technology when I was still on the farm as a kid. And it's amazing to me that the church needs to be the same way. The church needs to have technology. That the church shouldn't be the oldest, fuddiest, duddiest place in the whole world. We ought to have the good technology, yet holding on to the traditions that we need to hold on to.